Let's begin with a curious, yet deeply familiar observation. Have you ever noticed that there's a striking difference, a huge variance, in how much you feel you have to say, depending on who you're with? Think about it for a moment. Picture yourself at a social gathering. You might find yourself in a conversation where your mind feels agile and alive, words flowing effortlessly. Then, just a few minutes later, with a different person, you feel a fog descend. Your thoughts become sluggish, and you struggle to find anything meaningful to contribute. Around some people, we feel engaging, witty, and full of stories. Around others, we feel almost completely blank, as if our entire life's experience has been wiped clean. We tend to judge people based on how interesting they are, but in doing so, we often miss a more critical and revealing question. How interesting does a particular person make us feel? Why is it that in the company of certain individuals, our minds suddenly flood with anecdotes, ideas, and reflections? These are the conversations that leave us feeling energized and more in touch with ourselves. While around others, we can feel dull, hollow, and almost inert, as if we are a lesser version of ourselves. Why is it that when one person asks that simple, common question, "So, what have you been up to lately?" we positively brim with a multitude of topics to share, from a fascinating article we read, to a small, funny incident at the grocery store, to a deeper reflection about our career. Yet when another person asks the very same question, we struggle to remember if we've even existed at all, often defaulting to a flat, "Not much, you." To explain this phenomenon, we have to recognize a remarkable ability of our unconscious mind, a skill we may have never known we possessed. It's like a highly sensitive social radar, constantly scanning our environment. Throughout all our interactions, we are constantly picking up on tiny, subtle clues about how much the person we're talking to is truly understanding and appreciating what we're saying. This isn't a conscious checklist. It's a gut feeling, an instinctual assessment that happens in microseconds. We register the nonverbal data. When we bring up a certain topic, how much do their eyes light up, or do they glaze over with polite indifference? Do they lean in, signaling engagement, or do they subtly shift their weight, angling for an escape? How well can they follow our train of thought, especially if it takes a slightly unconventional turn? And then there's the deeper level of assessment. How much of our personal reality can this person accept? How much shocks them? When they take in their stride? If we mention a moment of anxiety, do they meet it with a flicker of recognition, or with a dismissive, "You should just be more positive"? If we share a quirky interest, do they respond with curiosity or a look of mild bewilderment? How much of the nuanced, complex, and sometimes messy parts of us can they safely receive? And crucially, how much of our true selves would we need to hide from them to spare the man therefore? Ourselves in alarmed, censorious, or judgmental response. This internal calculation is a powerful form of self-protection. We are unconsciously asking, is this a safe harbor for my thoughts, or will my ship be met with cannons? From the answers to these multiple data points, our mind forms a conclusion, often without us even realizing it. How much of the real me is this person likely to get? Quite simply, the more the answer is a lot, the more we will find we have to say. The inner editor that constantly polices our thoughts can finally take a break. We feel free to explore the meandering paths of our own minds out loud, knowing we have a willing travel companion. And the more the answer is "not so much," the more a quiet, protective instinct kicks in. The inner editor works overtime, red penning every thought before it can reach our lips, telling us to hold back, to play it safe, to remain quiet. This simultaneously helps to explain what makes someone a truly great companion, the kind of person around whom others feel they have an endless supply of things to talk about. These are the people who seem to effortlessly draw stories out of us. They achieve this, not through clever conversational tricks, but by opening many rooms in their own minds, or if you prefer, by saying a great deal to themselves long before they ever meet us. Of course, this is far from a simple task. Let's be honest. Many rooms of our minds contain very frightening things indeed. There is the room of failure, filled with memories of times we fell short. There is the room of shame, where our most embarrassing moments reside. There are rooms of properly daunting loss, pain, horror, and chaos experiences that have shaped us, but which we can be forgiven for never wanting to go anywhere near again. Yet, a person becomes a truly engaging presencia, person who makes others feel interesting precisely to the extent that they have become a brave and relaxed wanderer inside their own mind. They haven't sealed off these difficult rooms. Instead, they have found the courage to hold the key, to step inside, to look around, and to acknowledge what is there without being consumed by it. They have become familiar, and one could almost say at ease, with the parts of life that are sad, dark, agonizing, and potentially shameful. This doesn't mean they are somber or depressing people. Paradoxically, it is this very acceptance of the darkness that allows for a genuine and robust lightness. When they are at home with their own anxiety, they won't be startled by ours. When they have made peace with their own grief, they can sit with us in our sadness without needing to rush us through it. When they have accepted their own strangeness and silliness, they create a space where we, too, can be gloriously, imperfectly human. By a beautiful principle of reciprocity, they will be at home with our full selves. Where they have gone, we feel we can follow. Because they have already talked to themselves about difficult things, we feel both able and keen to talk to them. What they have felt safe exploring within themselves, we will be able to safely unpack around them. Their quiet comfort with the full spectrum of human experience sends out an invisible, powerful signal. All of you is welcome here. This gives us profound guidance on how to become that person for others. The path isn't about learning clever questions or memorizing interesting facts. It lies in becoming the best possible travelers inside ourselves. The most generous thing we can do for the people in our lives is to bravely and compassionately explore our own inner landscape. So what does this look like in practice? It means finding the courage to face our own stories. It might mean journaling, not just about our triumphs, but about our fears and regrets. It can mean seeking therapy to understand the patterns that hold us back. It might involve engaging with art, music, and literature that explores the complexities of the human condition, allowing us to see our own struggles reflected back at us. It means cultivating a practice of self-compassion, of learning to speak to ourselves with the kindness we would offer a dear friend. We need to open as many doors to our own psyches as we can, because this will subtly send a signal to others that we will be a safe recipient for all of their smaller, more private, and less often mentioned observations and feelings. Other people will have so much more to say to us once we have had the courage to say a lot to ourselves. In the end, creating deep, meaningful conversation isn't a trick or a technique. It's an act of profound generosity, born from our own inner work. It's a quiet confidence that radiates outward, letting others know that their complexities won't overwhelm us, that their vulnerability will be met with respect, and that their stories are safe with us. When we light a lamp in the quiet, forgotten rooms of our own soul, we don't just illuminate our own path, we create a warm, inviting glow that signals to others that it's safe to come in, unpack their stories, and truly be seen. This is how we build the connections we all crave, one honest, open-hearted conversation at a time. If these ideas resonate with you and you'd like to explore more about self-understanding, connection, and leading a more meaningful life, please consider subscribing to our channel. We are building a community of fellow travelers on this journey, and we're grateful to have you with us.